Hiya, friends. Prepared Suburbanite back at you. You know, I've been perusing the news, and I have been boycotting, I guess, Fox News for ever since they released Tucker. But I've been spending quite a bit of extra time looking at other alternative news sources and finding quite a few that are really filling my need to make sure that I know what's going on. And the more I watch and the more I look and the more research that I do, the more terrified I get about the direction that this country's taken right now. There are a number of things that are currently in the mix right now that I find very disturbing. Stick around and I'll get into some detail. There's a couple of news aggregation sites, and I'll leave that up to you to do whatever research you need to do to find the ones that you find consistent and reliable. But I saw this article I think, yesterday. Yeah, it's called Circle the Wagons. The government is on the warpath. And the article starts out with a quote by Harry Truman that says, "Once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition, it has only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasing repressive measures until it becomes a source of terror to all its citizens, creates a country where everyone lives in fear." I think we're there. It's pretty scary right now when you look around at what's going on with, what's his name? Gal Luft. Gal Luft was a potentially somewhat unscrupulous kind of a guy, but he had some very in-depth, detailed information about the kinds of transactions and potential bribes and things that were going on in the Biden crime family. And he came forward, did a few interviews that are out on the internet right now, one with Miranda Devine, which was pretty detailed. She is one of the very last true journalists around, and she asked him some pretty tough questions. But what he came out with was some pretty reliable, factual things based on his experience dealing with and working for CEFC, a Chinese Communist Party outfit that pretty much runs the whole financial infrastructure in the People's Republic of China. And he was very concerned and thought it was his duty to report what he knew and what he could document and what he was willing to say. He was just indicted by the Biden's Department of Justice. Merrick Garland had him indicted for crimes including failure to register as a foreign agent, attempts to legally broker the sale of Chinese-made weapons, arms trafficking, Iranian sanction violations, and making false statements to federal agents. It's been said by some folks that are a whole lot closer to this than I am that all those same charges could apply to Hunter Biden. But nothing's happened to him except 2 little misdemeanor tax violations and a slap on the wrist for lying on his federal gun purchase form. And I think that plea deal that he went through there was a scam. But that's my opinion. You can have yours. This is very troubling. This is, God knows how many times this has happened, that the Department of Justice has acted fervently against anybody that opposes or that says anything against the Biden administration. You look at what they did to Donald Trump with the raid on the documents at his Mar-a-Lago residence, with what's going on, not necessarily from the DOJ, but the New York district attorney that's after him for tax issues, the folks in Georgia that are contemplating a lawsuit about what was going on during the 2020 elections and how he may have potentially interfered, at least in their mind, with what they were doing down there. So what they've done, what the Biden administration has done, is they've targeted a political rival and said, we're going to go after you with everything that we've got. And they are doing that right now, today. Donald Trump is out there ducking all the slings and arrows that are coming at him right now, and he's doing a darn good job of staying ahead of it. But the fact that that's happening to Donald Trump, the fact that that's happening to this Gal Luft fella, he's a dual citizen, U.S. and Israeli, and he may have somewhat of a checkered past, but I want to hear what the guy really does have to say, and I believe that our House committees also want to hear what he's got to say. I think it could be very damning, but right now he's under indictment by the Department of Justice. Also worrying is what is going on in the financial sector, the economy, so to speak. It was announced this morning that, oh my God, inflation is now down to its lowest point in 22 months or 2 years or whatever, and it's down to 3%, which means that things cost 3% more now than they did this time last year, where they cost probably 6 times more or 7 times more a year ago than they did the prior year. So, yeah, while the rate of increase may be going down, that doesn't mean that the cost of food, the cost of gasoline, the cost of anything that we're going to need is going down. It's only going up at a slower pace. So don't be fooled about this wonderful news that, oh, we've got inflation under control now. Boy, things are going to be just absolutely great from now on, according to Bidenomics. We'll have to see about that. There's other issues in the world economy that I'm very concerned about. I've heard so much about these alternatives to cash and trying to dethrone the American dollar as the reserve currency for the world, how we trade for goods and services across different nations and all that. And the U.S. currency has been the standard by which all those, or pretty much all those, transactions are measured as far as a baseline goes. And with the advent of central bank digital currencies, with what's going on in the BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, that they are looking to create a gold-based currency. Well, we used to be a gold-based currency here years ago, and it's gone by the wayside for the last 50 years. Right now, it's just paper. and it's just whatever is written on the paper is basically all it's worth. Having a gold-based currency could be what really challenges the US dollar as being the basis for currency worldwide. Excuse me. I'm concerned about that because it demotes the position that the United States has enjoyed for so many years and so many decades as being the leader in economic stability. I'm concerned about our current president's health and well-being. I've watched so many clips of him befuddled, not knowing which way to go, having to be helped to different places, tripping up the stairs on Air Force One, falling off his bicycle, stumbling around. I'm very, very concerned that he's not up to the job and hasn't been for quite a long time. Whoever's running the White House, and it's certainly, I don't think, Joe Biden by himself, somebody's running the White House. And if something dastardly happens to him and he's not capable of fulfilling his responsibilities, that means that we end up with Kamala Harris. Well, you know, I thought at first glance that would be absolutely terrible. But she won't be allowed to run the U.S. government or run the presidency or run the White House either. It's whoever those people are in the background that are calling the shots, that are writing the speeches, that are scheduling everything that he needs to be doing right now, that they'll still be doing the same thing for Kamala Harris if she becomes the heir apparent, if something dastardly does happen to Joe. So we've got just a little over a year and a half or so before the 2024 election happens. And I would urge you all to pay very close attention to what's going on in the news, how it's going to affect you, how it's going to affect your community, how it's going to affect your family, how it's going to affect this country, this nation, and get prepared as best you can. Today's dollars are today's dollars, and they'll be worth less in the future. If you need to invest in your preps, now's the time to do it. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to be prepared always, and I'll see you all on the next video.